Alright, let's talk about everything going on with OddNations. First and foremost, no Tetro in this video. I know on my community tab I talked about doing one big video talking about both incidents, but at the end of the day, I thought that it would be better if I kept them separate. When I do release the Tetro video, I plan for it to be a companion video to this one, and it should hopefully be out in a few days. Secondly, yes, I know I sound terrible. I am currently sick, so hopefully that's not too distracting. If it is, then oh well. I imagine that most of you are probably familiar with what I'm about to talk about, but in case you're not, let me give you a quick recap. So, following the finale of Disventure Camp Season 4, a lot of information has surfaced about how OddNations has been treating their English voice cast, which is to say, not as well as they deserve. A lot of this information has surfaced on Twitter, but not everybody has Twitter, so as one of the bigger Disventure Camp YouTubers, I want to try to use my platform to tell you all what's been going on. I like to think I'm pretty in tune with the Disventure Camp fanbase, at least on the YouTube side. And I've been there to personally witness most of the controversies that this show has gone through, and believe me, there have been a lot. I have spoken negatively about OddNations in the past, but in most instances, my critiques boil down to, hey, I don't like how you're writing this show, I think you should change that. And nothing really more than that. At least to my immediate recollection, that is the case. I don't remember saying anything really bad about them as a company, but if I did, my bad, I forgot. But while I've never been able to meet any of the staff members personally, just being in this fandom long enough to see how they conduct business, I'm not a huge fan of OddNations as a company. And there are quite a few reasons why, but this video is mostly centered around the voice actors, so I'm gonna focus my attention on that. So the main reason that a lot of this came out is because Tony Ellis, voice actor for Logan, made a document that detailed a lot of their experiences working on the show, as well as a big analysis of Logan's character as a whole, since if you're unaware, Logan is the winner of Disventure Camp Season 4, and his win caused a lot of backlash within the community. Again, I will be putting Tony's document in the description if you'd like to read it. It is a bit of a lengthy read at about 40 plus pages, but if you want the full extent of the information given, I do suggest you go read it. But to summarize as best I can, according to Tony, all of the voice actors at the start of the season had a lot of creative control over their characters' personalities, their dialogue, and just generally how they were and how they acted. You can really see this in characters like Ivy, who I believe Vanessa had a lot of input into making her the character that she is, and Tristan, who, if I'm not mistaken, Kai Hauser wrote most of what Tristan ended up being. So if you're like me and you're a big fan of Ivy and Tristan and you thought to yourself, these two characters are strangely well written for Disventure Camp, that's probably why. But as the season made it to the merge, OddNation seemed to go back on that initial promise, encouraging the VAs to stick more strongly to the script and leaving a lot less room for improv as was initially promised. And in my opinion, I think this is probably why the pre-merge of DC4 was so good, whereas the merge took a notable dip in quality. I believe this also coincides with Jace Hansen stepping down as voice director, whereupon Jared took their place. Now, I know to some of you that might not seem like a big deal. After all, Jared is the guy behind the show, and ultimately, these VAs are just paid to read the lines. Why are they making a big deal about this? What you have to understand is that voice acting is acting, and in order to give the best performance possible, these actors diligently study their characters to make sure they're getting them exactly right. A VA's vocal performance does a lot to shape their character, from the way they choose to act out a certain line to the way they choose to handle a certain scene. All of those acting choices build up, and it's a pretty big part in the character as a whole. Obviously, most of the creative control is going to be in the hands of the writer. I mean, they wrote the characters, they brought them into being, so they understand the characters the most fundamentally. But in the case of Disventure Camp, where the VAs were specifically told, hey, you're going to have a lot of creative control over your characters, this is going to be a collaborative effort, and in the case of characters like the Vibe Tribe, Ivy, Tristan, and up until the merge, Zayd, I think their voice actors probably did more to flesh out these characters than Jared or any of the proofreaders. If Nathan Timmons got his way, then Zayd would have crashed out at Logan during the episode 23 bonfire ceremony, which I think absolutely he should have been allowed to do. And that to me really highlights how much Nathan understands Zayd as a character and really wanted to make sure that he got the justice that he deserved.
I know none of us like Logan, but circling back to Tony, if it wasn't for his input, Logan probably would have been way worse. No matter how Tony acted out the lines, Logan turning on Spencer around the midpoint of the season was always going to fall a bit flat because it is an instance of Logan being kind of a hypocrite. But I think Logan being angry at Spencer and showing a wider array of emotions is a lot better than what we would have gotten, which is Logan being a little whiny baby bitch. I don't know, like someone else we know. So hopefully I've done a good job explaining how important the VA's role is in bringing a character to life, and how disheartening it can be when you are promised creative freedom with your characters only to have that revoked as the season goes on. And it's not just ONC. Within the document, Tony talks about how, because they voiced a widely disliked character in a fictional YouTube series, they've been harassed on social media and stalked, which is absurd. And if you are of the mindset that you are justified in attacking voice actors because you don't like the characters they play, sincerely, go fuck yourself. I do not want you here. Get out. You are never, in any circumstances, allowed to harass someone on social media over something so asinine. Fortunately, I know that 99.9% of you watching this video have enough common sense to not do that and recognize that it's wrong. But I have one of the larger communities in the Disventure Camp fandom, and I'm not naive enough to believe that everyone in that community is a good egg. I have been very negative on Logan in the past, so Tony, if you are watching this video, if my comments on Logan gave you any mental stress whatsoever, to the degree that you mentioned in your document, I am so sorry. You have my sincerest apologies. I dislike Logan as a character because Jared's writing failed him. Your writing was absolutely fine. If anything, it almost made Logan bearable. All of the writing decisions that you pointed out in your document that you directly had a part in, I believe made Logan a better character. And I have no qualms with saying that the best part of Logan as a character is his voice. And honestly, I think that applies to quite a few characters in this cast. Another fun way that ONC mistreated the cast was that while the Spanish VAs got a salary on par with what you would expect a studio voice actor to get, the English VAs only get paid through greetings, at a rate of about $25 per greeting, and I would assume that double greetings give $25 to each actor involved. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, oh, Lech Gang, that doesn't sound so bad. $25 per greeting, that sounds like it could really snowball into something. It costs you like $90 to $100 just to buy a greeting. Where do you think the rest of that money goes? It goes to the animators, which, yeah, animators deserve to be paid for their work, but I have a problem with this for a few reasons. First of all, this is not the same team of animators who primarily work on the main seasons, so they aren't taking away from the main show. The animators who do the greetings are there for the greetings. Secondly, while I've never purchased a greeting myself, I have a lot of friends who have, and from what I've heard, at least recently, there have been a lot of greetings with reused and recycled animation. And I'm not trying to say that, these animators are so evil and lazy, stealing money from the voice actors. No, the greetings have been consistently coming out since All-Stars happened, and I don't think the staff at OddNations have really given the animators any time to take a break. Animators can and should be paid for their work, and given proper accommodations to make that work environment as best as it can be. But given everything I've just said, I feel like the VAs are getting the short end of the stick here. When your English VAs aren't being paid a standard rate, and they can only make money through greetings, which is entirely based on popularity, coupled with the fact that they only get a small portion of the money that the greetings cost, I feel like this system isn't working. The greetings in general are fucked, and I have absolutely no idea how to fix something like that. My best advice is just to close greetings down for like a week so that the animators can have a break and pay the VAs more money when they come back. Now you might say, oh, but Lech Gang, if they do that, then they're going to lose a lot of money, and my counter argument to that is that they're already losing a lot of money. By choosing to make Tom Jake Season 2, I would be genuinely surprised if they make back what they got from the Kickstarter. ONC may not be the size of something like Glitch Productions, but they're not the little guy anymore. They are a studio and they are a company, and with that title comes certain responsibilities, such as making sure that your cast is accommodated for. I don't think that every voiceover project needs to pay their actors the standard industry rate, sometimes the project leads legitimately cannot afford to pay their talent. That's why volunteer projects exist. But Disventure Camp is not one of those. This is how much they charge for 30-second greetings. This is how much they charge for their merch. This company can afford to properly compensate the people who work for them. And if they can't, then maybe they need to stop making side projects until they can. For all of these reasons, I believe that OddNations has mistreated its English voice cast, both creatively and monetarily. Now, I can't speak for the VAs, but it is my personal hope that OddNations will take this into account and start treating their creative talent with a little bit more respect. Based on Tony's document and what I've heard from the VAs on Twitter, it seems that this cast really went above and beyond to try to bring these characters to life, and I think they deserved better than what they got. The last part of this video is going to be a message directly to the VAs because ultimately this video is for all of you. If any of you have a problem with anything I've said in this video, please let me know as soon as possible and I will take it down. I have immense respect for everything you've done, and I made this video in part to inform everyone on OddNations and to encourage people to support you. If this video has caused any of you any amount of distress, then I failed at what I set out to do, and this video does not deserve to stay up. Secondly, if any of you would like to leave a comment letting people know how best they can support you, then you're more than welcome to do so. I'll be sure to heart as many as I can. I don't think that this video is going to change how OddNations treats its VAs, but if this video can get any of you any more amount of support, then that's the most I can really ask for. I know that even to this day, OddNations is struggling financially, but in my mind, that's not an excuse for this type of treatment. Support your voice actors.